This is Why Am I a Mets Fan, a podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are two Syracuse sports reporters with a Syracuse Mets and New York Mets podcast. Thanks for joining us. We are joining you now as the Mets are about to take on the Dodgers. They just swept the Rockies. All is pretty well in Metsland right now.
Yeah, I sat here after the White Sox series and said that I was interested in nothing less than a sweep of the Rockies, and I got a sweep. Thank God, because they are the worst baseball team known to man. We thought the White Sox were bad last year. The Rockies have 9 wins, and the calendar says June, and they are on track to break the record. It's the worst record in the modern era through 59 games.
I mean, this is historic, bro.
It's awful. Disaster class. The Colorado Rockies are a disaster class.
Wait, you turned to disaster class in the dictionary and it's just the Colorado Rockies logo.
Literally.
Brutal. Yeah, Friday the Mets won 4-2, Saturday 8-2, Sunday 5-3. And one of the themes that we saw throughout the series, home runs, home runs, home runs. Great to see.
Yeah, we got our power back. Lindor, a couple of home runs in there. We'll get into what those meant in a moment because he actually surpassed a really big milestone. But Soto's waking up a little bit too. Saturday, he hit his first home run in over 3 weeks. He had an RBI double on Friday. And then the big three, Soto, Alonso, Lindor, all homered on Sunday. And you know that that's a recipe for success. And that's actually the first time that that's happened this season. So whether it's a signal of them all waking up, coming back to life or not, it was good to see, and we can be hopeful going into this Dodgers series.
My parents were at that game on Sunday. All I can tell you is when Soto, Alonso, and Lindor all home run in the same game, to me, that's what blissful really means.
I mean, what a treat. Like, that's the game that you spend your hard-earned money on, and you get to see each of those 3 homer. You really hit the jackpot on that game.
You're getting your money's worth. Absolutely. You could be, I mean, sitting all the way in the upper deck, and just to be able to be there and experience that feels like an amazing thing that you can see. All right, tell us a little bit about Lindor and the milestone.
Yes, so Lindor hit his 260th home run on Friday night. He then hit 261 on Sunday. And why is that notable of his career? Why is that notable, you might ask? Well, because he passed Derek Jeter for most career home runs all time, and he's now in sole possession of the 4th most home runs by a shortstop all time in MLB history with 261. He is going to pass Hanley Ramirez this year. He has 271. Miguel Tejada's in second with 307. Cal Ripken Jr. 431. But I mean, you look at those numbers, and there's a really good chance that Franscisco Lindor ends his career with the 2nd most home runs all time by a shortstop. That is crazy.
It's really weird, especially when you consider the fact that he has never won the NL MVP.
Yeah.
Some things just don't make sense to me when you look at his stats. Like, I feel like he's getting gypped with these awards, but I get it, like Shohei Ohtani last year, nothing you could have done. But it is really remarkable, and I understand sometimes he has the slow starts, but you just have to look at the consistency, the power, the leadership that this man brings every single day. We're witnessing greatness, and I think you have to just soak that in while it's really happening.
It has started to hit me specifically this year that we are pretty much watching a Hall of Fame career in Franscisco Lindor in its prime for the New York Mets at shortstop. So that's really special. I mean, passing Jeter, right? To have that power at that position, Derek Jeter was 40 when he retired. Franscisco Lindor is 31. And I don't want all the Yankees fans to come at me right now because I understand that Derek Jeter still beats him in pretty much every offensive statistical category as of right now. But just to see, I don't know, that was big for me. It's Derek Jeter. To have the 4th most MLB home runs all time at age 31 is pretty crazy.
Not to mention Yankees fans, including our director, will come on here and say the World Series situation.
I understand.
And how he has won several of them. But still, hey, a comparison is a comparison. And it is pretty remarkable just to look at the age. Here's the other thing. Just in looking at what he does for the Mets team. When Franscisco homers, the Mets win. It literally is that simple. If you want to make money and you see that Franscisco Lindor has homered, then bet the money line on the Mets because legitimately they have won 26 games in a row, 28 if you count the playoffs, when Lindor homers. That's the key to success right there, baby. I don't know why,
That's
but it
Captain SHIT is what that is.
I mean, completely. I think even with Juan Soto here, maybe these numbers are just more proof of something we already knew, which is that Lindor is the captain of this team. He is always going to be looked at as the leader. And I'll tell you what, Juan Soto, which we'll get into in a second, has also been trying to show some leadership qualities and traits. But I think everybody understands and respects Lindor's position on this team.
When Lindor goes, the Mets goes. And I think that home run stat, while it's fun and it's fun to look at, right? So they've won 26 in a row when he's homered. The MLB record is 29. Actually, Carl Furillo of the Brooklyn Dodgers, that's the record from 1951 to 1953. So will he break that? I don't know. He's 3 games away. But that sort of just exemplifies, right? When Lindor goes, the Mets offense goes, the Mets go, the Mets win the game. And I think that's something that's invaluable. You can look at, like you said, Soto, these star players, they get big hits. Are they good in the clutch? Are they good with runners in scoring position? Well, I don't know, but do they make their team win when they're hitting? I mean, that is remarkable.
Is their team better every single day? There are also those guys who get really hot in the playoffs. And Lindor is one of those guys.
Yeah.
But what are you bringing every single day for the entire season? And I think day in and day out, he brings his best. Everyone's captain. But it's not just Lindor, it's also the rotation that's been really good. There is another component to all of this, especially lately. I mean, lowest ERA among NL qualified starting pitchers. Who the hell would have guessed that?
Yeah, for as much as we're talking about how happy we were with the offensive showing this weekend, it was A, the Rockies, and B, this is the first weekend in a while that we felt that way. What really has kept this team afloat is the pitching. Kodai Senga is out here. We were worried about a Senga hangover from the injury, the whole 9 yards. He has the lowest ERA in the NL, 1.6 ERA. How about that?
I'm realizing that's what I meant to say. So sorry. I feel like that stat was wrong in the way I said it. But when you look at the lowest ERA among NL qualified starting pitchers, Kodai Senga is in there. David Peterson is in there as well at number 5. So yeah, I think Senga is one of those guys where you thought maybe there were questions because what was going to happen and how is he going to return? He has been absolutely money. It's everything that you could have wanted and more from him.
Lights out, and it's great to see, especially because of how long it took him to come back from that injury last season. The other injury thrown in there. Last year was sort of just a throwaway career year if you're Kodai Senga. To see him come back with a vengeance and to lead the NL in ERA has been awesome. He's ahead of Yamamoto, Paul Skeens, Robbie Ray, and then Peterson is 5th.
Like Paul Skeens is number 3, you guys.
And Yamamoto, who I know was hurt, so he's been out for a while, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. The bullpen, I mean, there is really, you can go through all these things and see that in most areas, the Mets are truly overperforming. The bullpen has also been good too. I mean, there's a few of them, but particularly when you think about Edwin Diaz, and we talk about that a lot, but if there are high highs and low lows, then I'm just living in the moment and soaking up the freaking sun right now.
Yeah, Edwin Diaz's peaks and valleys. We're at a peak. He's really forgotten how to give up a run. Prior to Sunday's game, on Sunday, he let the leadoff hitter get on, and then he proceeded to send down the next 3 and close out the game. But before that, he went through an 0 for 30 stretch. Hitters were 0 for 30 against him. And even after Sunday, he has given up no earned runs since April 21st and has no blown saves this year. And all I have to say is, sometimes I partake in the conspiracy theories on Mets Twitter, sometimes I don't. This is a conspiracy theory that I need to know more about. Do you remember when the Mets trainers fixed his legs on, it was April 23rd? They were like, yeah, we noticed today that, one of Edwin's legs was longer than the other.
Yep.
So we just adjusted him and now he's fine.
Yep.
He hasn't given up a run since then. So what did they do to his legs? I don't really know what's going on there, but I do need to know more. Somebody get the trainer on the line.
Wait, also, who just randomly, noticed that on a Tuesday
Yeah.
and was like, oh, you're walking in a wonky way. I just don't understand.
That's the chiropractor adjustment of a lifetime that Edwin received.
Wait, that's awesome. And no, I actually agree. Even when you said how he gave up a hit to the leadoff batter, I will say, normally that's the kind of thing that makes me feel comfortable. I'm like, oh, no, now I'm in a safe space because Edwin Diaz gave up one hit. He's locked in. It's all good.
He's clocked in at the locked-in factory.
But wait, that's hysterical. But also, it hasn't just been, I actually think that's something that's made me feel even more positive about Diaz lately, is he hasn't had to get into these jams to now be like, let's turn on the Jets. He's handling his goddamn business. He wants to be out there. I need you guys to understand, he wants to be out there for as little time as possible. He gets out there and I'm like, he pitches so fast, never have to worry about the pitch clock with him.
No.
He wants to be out there for 3 minutes and then just go about his day.
He clocks in for approximately 6 minutes a day.
That's literally his work day.
Thank you.
6 minutes.
Good night.
That's crazy.
No, it is crazy. And honestly, it's been easy, Edwin, so far, which has been really nice because we know how it goes otherwise. But something else I wanted to point out, because we never talk about him, Reed Garrett could be an all-star this season. The underrated MVP of this bullpen has been Reed Garrett. We saw good stretches with him last year. Give it up for Reed. We saw bad stretches, peaks and valleys, but Anthony DiComo pointed out to us after last night's game that Garrett's ERA is down to .70. That's tied for the .7. That's tied for the major league lead among pitchers with at least 20 innings and is better than any closer in baseball. So Garrett has sort of taken on that setup man role, although Carlos Mendoza, he likes to mix and match depending on the matchups. I wouldn't say that they have a traditional setup man, but when you need an out, you're going to Reed, right, in a tough spot. To think about the fact that he'd be better than any other closer on any other team is a lot to comprehend for the mind.
Honestly, it spooks me a little bit. It's a little eerie.
Spooky season.
It's a little disturbing. No, it's amazing. And honestly, I do think, I don't know if this is just a me thing or if this is a Mets thing, but when I feel the most spooked throughout the course of the game, it is really around those like 7th or 8th innings.
Yeah.
Like I just don't always know what to expect. So to have a guy like this who then better positions Edwin Diaz, who then has a better night, I mean, there was definitely a time, several times throughout even the course of the past few years in Metsland when you just couldn't say that. And then Edwin Diaz would come in and he'd be under a lot of pressure and he'd fold under a lot of pressure. And many games that they could have won, possibly by 1 run, ended up being a loss. You don't think that now when you see Edwin Diaz coming in. You feel strong and sturdy with the presence that they have in the bullpen.
Yeah, I agree. Reed Garrett is my underrated MVP of the first half so far, probably up there with Clay Holmes. We have to talk about Clay Holmes on one of these episodes because the value that they've gotten for him has been awesome, but Reed Garrett and Clay Holmes up there for my underrated Mets first half MVPs. Give me yours in the comments.
He's really legit. Here's another thing that we wanted to put on your guys' radar. Juan Soto and the idea that lately he's been acting like a leader. All of a sudden, he's coming out of his shell, and that's according to even some like New York media, so I feel like you can trust that after everything that was being said a couple weeks ago.
After the Subway Series in the Bronx, Juan Soto got a performance review at his job. We've been saying it, from Carlos Mendoza. And he was, you know, when you're in elementary school in the red, yellow, green, they like put your card, how you're doing. He was in the yellow.
Yep.
He was in the yellow.
Yep.
And now he's moving towards the green. Yes, allegedly he has implemented a ritual for the Mets outfielders following each half inning of play when they go out to the field. The 3 players wait for each other before entering the dugout. They high five, whatever, and Soto goes in last. It's a really small thing. It's a really menial thing. I'm sure they do it on plenty of teams. I'm not acting like Juan Soto invented it, but it is nice to see him do something, right? Especially for his position group, the outfield. Franscisco Lindor is sort of the captain of the infield. To see Soto take that role is great. Will Salmon of The Athletic was the person who sort of brought this to the media's attention and said that he got it from Soto got it from Kyle Schwarber during their time in Washington together. He said, I know we're a whole team, but as outfielders, we have a lot of responsibilities back there. So if we can stick together more and more, even when guys do make an error, just pick them up, have a talk before going in to hit. It's huge for me. After Schwarber taught me that, I started doing it. And I feel like a lot of my teammates appreciate it. I like it. It's small, like I said, but it's nice.
And how often do we say that the little things make the big things, right?
Exactly.
I think a lot of people neglected to understand when he came here. Just think about it. Think about any of you just in your normal day jobs. When you go into a new place, even if you have a great reputation and are well respected in your field, you don't just go into a new place and start acting like you run the damn place.
Yeah.
Like that it's funny because I feel like New York media is quick to be like, he should have acted more like a leader. But if he did, I could have seen the same people being like, you know, he's doing too much to start and he should just focus on his hitting instead or whatever. I think he had to ease into it a little bit, and that's not such a bad thing. That's still not me going back on. Like, I still to this day will stand on the fact that he did not hustle in that one play where people asked, did you hustle? I know his ass can run faster than that because we've seen him do it. We've seen him steal, right?
Right.
But that it's all in the past, right? It's all about the next 15 years and what he's able to accomplish. And you have to just appreciate some of these little things, because my dad said this the other day, and I think I'm inclined to agree with this. He's like, you have to look at it over the course of 15 years or whatever it ends up being and see what the Mets are able to accomplish. Because let's just say that they were able to win 2 World Series. Wouldn't you say that we got our money's worth?
All I can say is if the Mets win 2 World Series, absolutely no one is going to remember about the time in May when Juan Soto didn't hustle. I'm not excusing it. I was upset about it at the time. But yes, you do have to look at the big picture sometimes, and I think that gets lost over the course of a baseball season is 162 games, and 15 years of a baseball contract is quite literally thousands of games.
And no one's saying don't judge him based on the night. That's literally what we do.
Yeah.
It's our job to judge these athletes' performance every single night.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to kind of zoom out every once in a while, look at a little bit of a different perspective and just know that I think, at least in my eyes, all of these players will be judged over what they did throughout the course of their career.
And I completely agree that the Juan Soto narrative by the New York media would have been, if he walked in and was, the guy on day one and was strutting around, all of a sudden it would have been, oh, look, he's trying to overshadow Lindor and Alonso, and he doesn't respect anyone. And we saw an example of that when we were at Citi Field. We touched on it, right? Like that press conference after the game, the home opener, Soto and Alonso are sitting at the podium. Somebody asked Soto, and he was like, no, you go first to Alonso. Like that was a really subtle sign of respect for the fact that, hey, I just walked in this door and you've actually worked here for the better part of the last 8 to 10 years. You know what I mean? For a lot, not 8, but you know what I mean? For a long time. So I think this is it's a small example, but it's a good sign of Soto taking some of those criticisms in stride, taking constructive criticisms and looking at it and saying like, hey, this is my team too now, or at least it's growing into becoming that, right? It's a good signal that he's making an effort in the way people wanted him to make an effort. He also had a quote on Saturday, which he hit better this weekend, but he said, I know I've been struggling and I haven't been there for them, my team, but I will be. It's a matter of time. We don't know when it's going to come through, but I'm going to keep working. It's just better sentiments. It's better optics, as Sandy Alderson would say, from Juan Soto.
100%. And it also means that whatever Mendoza did tell him, he understood it, he grasped it, he processed it, and he made changes. And to your point, just to really psychoanalyze it, because we're here anyway, and nobody's telling us what we can and can't say, I thought about it even in the context of, I remember like when I was a goalie at Colgate, we would all like walk out in a line onto the field, and you'd have one or two of the captains who stand in the front of the line, but you also have a captain who stands in the back, which is why I always felt like more comfortable in the back, just making sure everyone's ahead of me. I honestly think that shows a lot about the kind of person who he is too, because Lindor to me is like your front of that line captain. When you're walking out onto the field, like that's who even Mets fans are eager to see first, and he's sort of your face of the franchise. But maybe Soto, at least to me, he honestly doesn't strike me as so entirely outgoing. He might not be your vocal leader. Maybe he's more of a lead by example guy, which is also tough then when your actions and your play isn't necessarily leading by example to start. I think he probably just felt like he was in a weird position where he couldn't be telling everybody, hey, we got to play better when you're not playing well. At least that's how I felt, But now this is good. He's leading by example, and he's leading from the back. That is exactly where he should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree that actually when you look at it in the long term, personality-wise, with Lindor and Soto, it could work out, right? I completely agree with everything you just said. Lindor is that flashier guy at the front. He's going to be smiling, cheering, waving pom-poms, essentially. Let Soto take that more quieter lead by example role. And I think in the future, for the next 5 to 10 years in Metsland, however long we have until Lindor retires, it could be a beautiful thing.
All right, our director's out of here at 3:30. It's already 3:31, y'all. So we're going to have to hit our last topics quickly. Thanks for sticking with us. He's a Yankees fan, by the way, so feel free to boo him in the comments. Alvarez versus Torrens. This is something we wanted to hit on for you guys fast. We've been wanting to discuss it, and I think there absolutely is a discussion to be had about what happens next and which route do you go down here. Which path are you taking, Ashley?
I mean, it's been tough. I think, listen, I've been a huge Luis Torrens advocate since they signed him. We talked about it in one of our older episodes, like backup catcher to have the production that Torrens can give you is one of those underrated things on a team that does go on to make the NLCS or the World Series. That's absolutely massive. Torrens has been really good again this year. He's outperforming Alvarez at the plate in pretty much every category. Obviously, Alvarez had that injury. He was out for a little bit of time. But Torrens is hitting 263. He has 11 RBIs. Alvarez only has 7. Both of them only have 1 home run, not giving you much power at all. Torrens only has 25 strikeouts, and Alvarez has 26. And Alvarez, it should be noted, has 14 less at bats than him currently because of that injury. But what Torrens really gives you that everybody knows that's a Mets fan is, right, that caught stealing. If you do not run on Luis Torrens unless you have some kind of death wish. He throws out 47% of runners, although Alvarez, I should say, has really improved in that area this season. He's throwing out 41% of runners. They're 4th and 6th best in baseball in that category. So I'm not calling for Alvarez's head. I understand he still needs to grow and develop. He's still young. What is he, 25? I mean, he came up so young. He's still so young. But the problem is that when you know Torrens is going to consistently give you some sort of production, and there's many a night in Metsland when it seems like Franscisco Alvarez has a one-way ticket to 0 for 4, That's a problem. And I think the Mets, if that continues this summer, are going to have to answer to that at some point. They can play the platoon game. They can play the matchup game as much as they want. It's not a problem, right? You're literally saying there's somebody else on the team who can do this job well. But for Franscisco Alvarez, it might be. We just haven't seen the power, the flashes of potential at the plate that we were seeing in 2022 and 23 when he came up.
I was actually just about to say, this is the best problem that the Mets have. Hands down.
Yeah.
It really is. And I don't think that it's necessarily cause for concern because you have depth there, but it does make you at least think in the back of your mind. If I was Mendoza, I'd be thinking, what do you do here? And should you make a change? I think if you're Alvarez, you should at least be feeling that and feeling a little bit of the pressure right now. And I almost never say this. I'm actually such a big advocate of pick one guy and stay in a lane. And I think that's how people get more comfortable and they develop. And that's why I think Beatty should be continuously playing at third base. But for Alvarez and Torrens, that's one of the only situations where I actually feel like I wouldn't mind seeing a little mix of both.
Yeah.
Because Alvarez, I don't want to discount, like you said, the power and even the swag that he had like a couple years back. But you are right to say that he hasn't necessarily been the exact same kind of player. And Torrens is really good at what he's good at. And I think he should be getting reps too.
And if I'm Luis Torrens, I'm kind of like, what more do you want me to do here? I know he's a veteran. He's probably not playing that petty playing time game. But if I am him in my head, I'm sort of like, what more do you want from me?
I completely agree. And I think if you're Torrens, you're going up to Mendoza and being like, I want more time and I earned it. And you wouldn't be wrong to say that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what it comes down to is I thought Alvarez for a long time was supposed to be that lifer and,
Mets
your franchise catcher and all that jazz. But what do you do when all of that is true and the narrative, but somebody else is better on paper?
Yeah. And how many years do you, right? Like I just said it, Alvarez is still really young, 25, maybe he's 26 now. But he's still developing, but at the same time, he's been up now for 3-4 years. So I think it starts to become a problem and you start to question things when you're not seeing what you saw a couple years ago. So paging Franscisco Alvarez's power and swag factor because it's gone missing. Someone please help me find it.
Last but not least, we are looking ahead to the Dodgers, y'all. It starts tonight. It is a 4-game series. It is out in LA. Some really exciting pitching matchups here and a whole lot of fun on the way. What do you think when you think about this series?
4 games this time, so you get to settle in a little bit out on the West Coast. It's always a little more fun to me when it's a 4-game series, right? You get to settle in for a minute. The games will be late our time, 10:10 East time, 7:10 out on the West Coast. I love a late West Coast game, but you guys do know it makes it challenging for us to have sort of post-game recap and reaction episodes, so bear with us. We're going to do what we can. Not going to make any promises right now. What sticks out to me about this series is I think it's a win for the Mets if you split it, right? You're traveling out to the West Coast. So that always taxes you a little bit. Obviously, I would love a series win. They won the first series, took 2 out of 3 in New York. I would love to win this series too, but I think you take a split as a win if you're the Mets. The probables in here tonight, it's Dustin May against Paul Blackburn, which honestly, I'm going to go tonight is I don't feel good
That's
about
a wash.
tonight. Womp, womp, womp. Now, of course, because I said that, Paul is going to go out there and like throw a no-hitter. But Blackburn is actually making his season debut after he got injured at the end of last year. So I don't
That's
know.
a
Your
whole
first
wash.
start back from injury and they say, yeah, here's the Dodgers. Like that is a terrible draw. God help him.
Yeah, woof.
Anyway, then right, and then tomorrow night it's Tyler McGill against Clayton Kershaw. So that's not exactly a fair matchup either. Then what day is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Tuesday. Wednesday it'll be Canning versus Tony Gonsolin, and Thursday David Peterson versus Landon Knack. I always feel good when Peterson pitches, so I feel good about that last game. Canning's been good. The first 2 I would say sketchy pitching wise, but it's all going to come down to the offense. We've seen that with these 2 teams before. That I think they're both such hitting machines. Whoever hits is going to win.
And also, mind you, after this, they have the Rockies for 3 games. So just come back and go 5 for 7 on that trip, and I think that nobody is complaining. But additionally, I want another sweep against the Rockies. I'm not wrong about that, right? They're playing the Rockies
Yeah.
I want to sweep against the Rockies again. It's unacceptable for anything else to happen.
We are not losing to the Colorado Rockies, or I'm going to film my crash out for everyone.
If you give them their 10th win, I'm going to have Ashley go on YouTube and record
Live.
just herself having a crash out, and you guys don't want to see that happen. It's not going to be good.
No one wants that.
Nobody wants that. Actually, everybody wants that, nobody wants that. Additionally, I think 2 games is a good goal, but also why not reach higher? If they're playing well, if they're hot, if they just got that first slot back in the NL East, Kings.
We're in first place again at Philadelphia.
Bye Phillies. Peace.
All right.
But honestly, if you can retire, why not? Go in there, have a positive attitude about it. It's the Dodgers. They're a great team, but you can definitely beat them, and they are beatable. Last words, final words before we get out of here. Or wishes.
Final words and wishes. Well, I wish they would sweep the Dodgers. That would be fun and fresh. Do I believe in Paul Blackburn or Tyler McGill? No. So I'm going to temper my expectations. But yeah, it'll be a fun week. And even if things go south against the Dodgers, you know that you have that sort of palate refresher of the Colorado Rockies again this weekend. So looking forward to a fun series. I said it before, I got some backlash on this, but I honestly do not care that the Dodgers is the most interesting regular season series for me at this time. I know the Phillies will be interesting for the division. I am looking forward to playing the Phillies and all that rivalry. But as of right now, when the Braves suck and the Yankees, again, do not matter for the playoff standings for the New York Mets, I'm most interested in the Dodgers. That's it. Because I know that it could be the rematch somewhere here along the lines in the playoffs. Maybe.
I'm actually surprised you're getting backlash for that. Those people are crazy.
I saw some people be like, no, that's an idiotic take. No, it's not.
They're idiots.
Idiots.
Anyway, thank you everybody so much for joining us. As always, be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. Really helps us out. Road to 10K is still underway, baby. We're walking it.
We're chugging. Well, we started to jog.
But we started to jog recently because of y'all, so thank you. We will see you back here when the next big thing happens.